You guys have been waiting for it. It is time for our June wrap-up. A few of y'all were calling us out for putting our July TBR up first, but we just needed a little bit more time to read. For the most part, I pretty much read every single book I said I was going to read, except for the next book in the Shatter Me series that I'm on, but I'm just going to take that one and read it in July.
I didn't do nearly as well as I was hoping for this month. I mean, do I ever? I think I only read 5 of the 9 I had wanted to read in June, but I'm hoping I can just take all the ones I didn't get to and just move it into July.
That's actually how I started my reading month. I took 2 from my May TBR that I didn't get to and read them for June. So first up, I read Truly Devious. This is a YA mystery. We're at this academy with really cool kids and there's some murder mystery for us to uncover. I thought it was a solid read. There was just something about it that I wasn't super connected with. There was really like 2 different mysteries going on and I really just like wasn't interested in either of them. I feel like nothing really happened until really close towards the end, which at that point it's just like I don't even really care anymore, you know? There was also a good cliffhanger at the end, but the journey to get there was just too long for me, which is really sad because I really wanted to like this one, but I just thought it was solid. Nothing too special. I probably won't even remember it next month.
I don't think I remember much about that story.
I think it's because I try and compare every YA mystery to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and this wasn't close. I gave it a 3.
I'm gonna start off with the book that I'm currently reading, and it is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I'm going to have this done by tomorrow when this video goes out. That's why I'm including it, but this is my most recent read, and it is fantastic so far. I think I only really picked it up to try squeeze in one last book in June, but I am so pleasantly surprised. This is about an expedition that is taking place in Area X, an area that has been cut off from the rest of the world for decades. In this area, nature has completely taken over, and no one other than the explorers know what's going on in this area. There has been 11 expeditions prior to this one, and anytime explorers have made it back, they have been severely affected by Area X. So right now we're following the 12th expedition. It's 4 women, and we are in the point of view of the biologist. The writing is so good. It's very atmospheric without being too flowery, which I love. We jump right into the story, and even though the setting itself isn't creepy on the surface, there's like an unnerving, eerie feeling throughout the whole time, and it's so good. The storytelling is good. I know there's a movie adaptation, but I've heard it's vastly different from the book. I don't know why you would want to stray from this though, because it's done so well, so I am interested to watch it afterwards because this so far has been perfect, so I don't know why they would change anything, but this is a 5-star prediction for me. This is the first book in the trilogy too, so I'm definitely going to want to get the other 2. I'm hoping it ends as good as it's been this whole time. I don't know if you would consider this sci-fi, but if it is, this is opening up a new gate. Watch out. I'm gonna have to pick up some more of these.
The next one I read is My Dark Vanessa. You guys were completely right. It was super heartbreaking and really disturbing. It was honestly hard to get through, but the story was so captivating. I remember reading Stephen King's blurb, and it says My Dark Vanessa is a hard story to read and a harder one to put down. A well-constructed package of dynamite. That's exactly how I felt. This story, we are following a young teenage girl and her teacher. I did like that we got to follow Vanessa's storyline from both past and present timelines. So we got to see this relationship and how it formed in the past and then how it's truly affected her in the present. There was also so many good quotes in here. Towards the middle, I was thinking I should have tabbed this book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars.
Okay. Up next, I have Blade of Secrets by Trisha Levenseller. This was my blind book pick for the month. It is a YA fantasy that follows a bladesmith who creates magical weapons, and then when she accidentally creates a blade powerful enough to topple kingdoms, she decides to run away with it in hopes that it doesn't end up in the wrong hands. This was such a fun, fast read. Our main character does deal with a lot of social anxiety, so the only person she really trusts is her sister. While on the run, they pick up a lone mercenary, and she starts to develop feelings she didn't know she was capable of. Overall, it's just a really cute, wholesome story. Something I love about YA fantasies is they're not too complex. Like, they're really easygoing. It's very beginner friendly, especially if you're just trying to get into fantasy, so I always recommend books like this. But overall, it was really fun. I think I gave it a 3.5.
My blind book was My Policeman. The story is set in the 1950s, and basically there is a man and a woman who are both in love with the same man.
Oh!
Harry Styles does play the policeman in the movie, which I I loved that. It was so fun imagining him as Tom because I could easily imagine him as this character. It was just something about this I just didn't love as much as I wanted to. I think the pacing was just really slow. I really did not like being in the girl's point of view, Marion. I just didn't like her at all, and I think I would have enjoyed the story more if we got to be in Tom's point of view, the policeman's point of view.
Are we not?
We're not. We only get to be in the girl and the guys, and I just didn't like that. Like, I wanted to see what he thought and like how he truly felt about each of them. And I also felt like at the end of the book is where everything should have started. Like, they should have started the book right then and there. The story itself was interesting, and since this book was set in the 1950s, it was really sad to read this story because society wasn't accepting at all. I am still interested in watching the adaptation. I know a lot of people have said that they actually enjoyed it more, so I'm hoping I feel that way as well. I gave this 3 stars.
You guys know I read Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas this month, and it was a phenomenal ending to a fantastic series. Everything about this world and these characters are to die for. Every book in the series truly got better and better, and it was all leading up to this masterpiece. I honestly think the storyline is unmatched. We're following a lone 15-year-old assassin. We get to see true strength, power, and determination. The character development with all of these characters is immaculate. We see these people uncover mysteries, battle in war, harness magic, endure the worst possible things imaginable, and still come out with hope. It's unbelievable. This was such a good series. I understand why it's a lot of people's favorites. It definitely will remain one of my favorites of all time. I can't wait to now order like a bunch of fan art and merchandise because I was worried that I was gonna see spoilers. It's so good. I recommend everyone go read it. It's definitely not a fantasy romance, but it is a romantic fantasy, and I think I like those more almost. 5 stars. I don't know if I said, but 5-star book. Fantastic.
Okay, next is the book that you guys have been all waiting for our review on. This is seriously the most popular book right now. It is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This was our June book club book. We had no idea when this book won that it was going to be impossible to get a hold of. We did feel bad because we know multiple literal besties didn't even get a chance to purchase this book. We ended up having to read the ebook. We got these here with no sprayed edges.
It's devastating.
It was really sad opening it.
Only ever seeing copies with the sprayed edges too, and then seeing it like this now, it seems wrong. It's hard to come up with like a short, concise summary of this book, but if you don't know, basically we're set in a world that is split up into 4 quadrants, and we are following a girl named Violet who has essentially been raised to enter the scribe quadrant like her father. Because of complications when she was born, she's very fragile and easily injured, but what she lacks in physical strength, she definitely makes up in intelligence. Violet's mother is actually like a top commander, and she decides that no child of hers is going to be a scribe, so she forces Violet into the writer quadrant, which is of course the most brutal and dangerous quadrant of them all. Violet has little time to prepare herself before she's thrown into this legendary dragon rider college and hopes to make it out alive. That's a summary. A lot going on. It's one of the highest rated Goodreads books of all time, which is insane. The hype surrounding this book is crazy. What are your thoughts on it?
I think because we knew going into this that this book is so hyped right now, I was really nervous because normally when books are super hyped, I don't tend to feel the same way. But this one, I honestly had such a fun time. I feel like it just effortlessly played like a movie in my head. I loved the romance. I feel like right away, I knew what team I was on. I knew what man we're supposed to love. I feel like everything was also really easy because since I don't read a lot of fantasy, I think that was another reason why I was super intimidated. Reading this one wasn't hard at all. Like, you understand what's going on. There really wasn't anything that you have to think too hard about. I also really like that this book is getting a lot of new readers into fantasy. Multiple people in our book club, and some of the updates, they were saying this is actually like their first fantasy and they're really enjoying it so far. So I do love it for that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought the cliffhanger was so good. I'm ready to pre-order the second one. And because I loved it so much, it just makes me even more mad that we don't have the special edition.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of thoughts about this book. I did really like it. I gave it a 4-star, I believe. But I think, like what you said, it's a super good beginner fantasy. Since I read so many, I don't even read too many, but since I've read fantasies in the past, I felt like this was very similar to a lot of the other ones I've read. It was like a mix of a bunch of different things, but I think it kept distracting me because I kept thinking about what stories this was reminding me of. I did feel like this book was very predictable, but that didn't make it not enjoyable. I just knew early on where it was going, and I think it was because the amount of foreshadowing that the author has in this book, it was really easy to kind of figure out what was going to happen. So much so that I understand why it had to be labeled new adult because of like the amount of death and like some of the darker scenes, but the writing felt kind of YA to me because of all the hand-holding by the author.
I need hand-holding in fantasy.
And see, like, it's good for like people getting into fantasy, like you said, perfect book for that. But I was a little taken aback because for the hype that this has, I was kind of expecting a little more in terms of writing. One thing that I am hoping is included in the sequel is more world building, because there wasn't a lot happening world building wise in this one. Anytime they were talking about the world, it was kind of just info dumping, and I don't love that. However, I do love the idea of a dragon rider college. I love the dragons. I love the relationships and like bonds and conversations that they have with the writers. I think it's a really fun idea. It's a fun story. I do want to read the second book. I'm just needing a little more. If you're gonna label this best book right now, highest rated on Goodreads, I don't necessarily understand why this book out of all fantasy books has made it to like this top pedestal position for everyone. If you read this and you read lots of other fantasy books, what were your thoughts on it? Because for our book club, the average rating was a 4.7, which is insane. That's almost everyone giving it a 4 or higher.
I really do think it's because girlies like me who are intimidated of fantasy, this is perfect. And I also love that this author, I had a book of hers. I was so uninterested in it that I ended up donating it to a free little library, I think. So girly changed up her whole vibe. And look at her now. So I also reread It's Not Summer Without You since the new season is coming out July 14th. I also found out that Lola and Gavin, who play Belly and Jeremiah, actually narrated this book together. So I started listening to it while I was reading, and I really felt like I already watched season 2. It was so much fun just imagining it and like hearing them say all of the words, because you know the series is going to come out and we're not going to get every little thing that we got in here. I was also shocked while reading this because there's actually a lot that went down in here that they actually have already done in season 1. I am interested in seeing how similar they're going to make the second season. All I know is they better give us that hot cocoa scene, or I'm done.
That's my favorite scene in the entire series.
I was actually laughing because yesterday they had like press day and they showed a little trailer, like a little part in the show. Already in that little trailer, I was like, okay, wait, why didn't he say something?
Yeah, that's one reason I didn't want to read them so close, because I didn't want to be like nitpicking and comparing.
Well, now I just feel like I'm even more excited for it because it's freshly in my mind now, and I want to see like the things that they do put in here and just like fangirl over it.
So up next, we actually both finally read Feel the Fire by Kristen Becker Ritchie, book 7 in the Addicted/Calloway Sisters series. This is basically just a 10-book contemporary romance series. 6 friends who turn into 3 couples, and we follow them for about a decade. What'd you think?
I mean, I think we started this last year. I think we like wanted to read this at the beach or something. This took us way too freaking long to get through. And don't get me wrong, we love Rose and Connor, but it was just super dragged on. It was kind of like repetitive. I think that's why it made it so hard for me to get through, but we did it. I think I just gave it a 3-star.
I think I did too.
Overall, it's just, these books are all fine. They're great. The couples are great. We love them all, and they're fun. But they do not need to be around 600 pages long.
Yeah, it just was a little too long. The plot was fine. I mean, scandal, your image in the press, having to deal with it, that's fine. But like, it was very long to get there. So I gave this one a 3, and then after that, I actually went through and read Long Way Down afterwards. This is book 8. I was like, while I'm on this train, I might as well just keep going. I lied, this is book 9. With this couple, their first book in the Calloway Sisters series was my favorite. So I was kind of having high hopes for this one. Again, I think I just like the first half of the series better. I don't like where any of them are at now. I understand we're following them over like a decade. They're moving on with their lives. They're settling down, but I think I like romance books when I get to watch them like fall in love and like the development of the relationship and like figuring stuff out. We're past that now. Everyone's together, everyone's happy, and while I'm happy for them, that's where it ends for me. So I think me just having to continuously read about these people, I just lose my passion for it a little bit. Now all that's left is the 600-page epilogue. It'll probably take me a while to finish it, but I mean, none of these are bad by any means. I liked the beginning.
Now we're gonna go over the books that we read in our reading vlog. We do go more in depth in that video, but for starters, I read The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hilderbrand. This was my first Ellen Hilderbrand book, and she is my new summer book queen. This was really everything I want in a summer book. I felt so connected to all of the characters. I was so interested in everyone's different little storyline. This really felt like that show Below Deck, but like a hotel version. You know, you're following the workers, you're following the guests, and it's just super entertaining. Because we're following so many different people, there's so many tropes that kept this book entertaining. I did give this one a 4.5 stars. The only reason I'm not giving it 5 stars was because at times it felt like there was too many people to keep up with. They were sometimes just throwing names of people who live in Nantucket, and it was just kind of like a lot, because I would be like, wait, who is this again? And I don't like when that happens to me. So that is the only reason why it's not a full 5 stars, but it was still so much fun, and I cannot wait to read more about her.
The first book I read in that vlog was Gleanings by Neil Shusterman. You guys already know. I don't have to talk too much about it because you guys know I love this author and he did not disappoint with this one. This is a book of short stories that takes place in the Ark of Scythe universe, so definitely read that series. It's basically a world where humans get to live forever, and the only way you could die is if you're chosen to die by a scythe. In the original series, we are watching how scythes decide to kill and the art of killing through the eyes of 2 apprentices, and in this one it's just short stories throughout that world. So before the trilogy, after the trilogy, all of these are so amazing. He did co-write a lot of these stories with different authors, and all of them were so good. I gave this one a 4 star, and anything this man writes I will definitely read, but this series remains one of my favorites.
I also read No Exit by Taylor Adams. I wanted to love this one so freaking bad, but I just didn't. I gave this one a 2.5 stars. I was really disappointed. I think because I wanted it to be more of a mystery, and I was mad that right away we kind of found out who was responsible for the disturbing things that are going on. So the rest was just kind of like survival slasher book, and I guess that's just not my type of vibe because I didn't enjoy that. But I do think I would be interested in reading something else by Taylor Adams.
The second book I read in that vlog is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. We actually both read this book this month. It is a second chance romance. We're following Will and Fern, who spend an entire day together, and then 9 years pass with no connection. They now have a second chance at love. This one just did not do it for us. Every Summer After by Carly Fortune I was obsessed with. I had high hopes for this one. It did not meet the mark by any means. I think I gave it a 2.5.
I think I also gave it a 2.5. I mean, honestly, I just don't love second chance romance books, so if I'm going to read one, it needs to be so good, and this just wasn't it for me. I wasn't even rooting for the couple.
It's hard when you don't connect to the characters, and neither of us liked the love interest in this book, so I think that was a huge part of why we didn't love it. But I do like her writing, so if she puts out something else, I would read it. This one missed the mark. I am glad we read it this month at least, because it was like summer themed.
So these are all the books that we read in June. I say it's pretty successful.
Honestly, yeah, we're hard on ourselves. This isn't that bad.
My favorite of the month is going to be everybody else's favorite of the month, which is Fourth Wing.
My favorite of the month has gotta be Kingdom of Ash. You knew it was coming. Sorry for the basic answer, but it was fantastic.
Let us know what your favorite book of June was, and if you read Fourth Wing, let us know your thoughts on it.
Reminder that when this video comes out today, June 30th, is Stuff Your Kindle Day. That's exactly what we're gonna do after this. Go stuff your Kindles. We'll leave more information in the comments.
We do have our poll up on Fable for our next book club book. If you haven't voted yet, please go vote, because we actually weren't expecting the book that's winning by a long shot to be winning. Yeah, go vote if you haven't already.
If you aren't a part of our Literal Besties Book Club yet and you want to be, the link is always in the description. Go join. We're about to kick off this new month. Make sure to like and subscribe also if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.
You guys have been waiting for it. What month is it?
June. It's not too bad.
I think I give threes. Threes are like, I didn't love it, but I could understand like if somebody else did.
Twos, you're like, I don't understand how you like that.
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly how I felt.
Oh.
I just liked your little facial expression.
Oh, sorry. I kept thinking about what stories this was reminding me of.
Like what?
Okay, I even broke this down. Divergent, because of the 4 separate quadrants and like the combat scenes of like them training and things, that was so divergent to me, and that was how I was picturing it. Then I felt like it was a mix of the Poppy War because we're following someone who is looked at as like the weak link and everyone wants to kind of fight them and whatever at this war college. The government and stuff felt like From Blood and Ash. So much so that I knew what was gonna happen because it was From Blood and Ash. Like, I don't know, it was like a good mix of all those.
And the Hunger Games.
I didn't watch Hunger Games, so I don't know.
There was one point where like she was on a tree and I was like, okay, I'm literally picturing the exact Hunger Games scene from the movie, but.
Gotcha. Is that the intro to Candy Shop?
What Candy Shop?
The Candy Shop, yeah, you know how the intro is like dun 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 dun. Yeah! So seductive. It's such a good intro.